Hey guys, Steve Mecca here, and today we are reviewing an anime series called Ghost in the Shell SAC2045. It's a Netflix exclusive series meant for more of a mature audience. It's like 12 episodes long, 25 minutes a piece, and I think every episode is a good amount of content. It is directed by the original Ghost in the Shell standalone complex in the early 2000s, Kenji Kamiyama. And also it is co-directed by Shinji Aramaki. So Shinji Aramaki did a episode of Ultraman, Harlock Space Pirate, a bunch of 3D animated projects, also helped with directing Halo Legends. So these people have been here for a long time. They know the content that was previous in Ghost in the Shell. I think that they have enough credentials to definitely make a series for sure. But when you're actually watching this series, there's going to be three things that we're going to be focusing on. Number one, the most controversial topic, which is going to be animation. Number two is going to be story. And three is going to be characters. So just to give you everybody heads up, this series is about a mercenary unit called Ghost, and they work for Japan's elite Section 9 group. So basically, it's a bunch of badasses following this person called the Major, who is a fully synthetic, and the group consists of humans, cyborgs alike, that all have their own talents, special abilities, and so forth, making them an elite mercenary group. They are tasked in this series to fight and to track down these things called post-humans. Now, post-humans are these organic cyborgs of sorts, like they don't know what happened to these people, but they were human at some point and they became something more. So that's kind of like the basis of the actual series itself. So let's jump into the first category, which is going to be the most controversial. It's going to be animation. Now, people of the fans of Ghost in the Shell of past is not going to necessarily be welcome to this type of animation. It's a 3D animated series. So if you've watched Ultraman on Netflix, that's probably the closest thing that I can possibly gear you towards, or another anime series that might have been similar to this one would be Ultraman. That makes sense because of the art design and the directing of the Shinji Aramaki in this series. So overall, I just think that it seems like a childish type of anime show, like on a Saturday morning, but they made it into a more of a mature audience type of show. And I don't know if it's going to be quite jarring for a lot of people. Like in the beginning, the first episode, I really wasn't too sure if I was going to like this, because when you watch an anime, you have to like what you see, because you're going to watch the whole thing and you kind of need to like the animation. So after the first episode or two, I kind of stuck with it, and after the first couple of episodes, I got used to the animation. Like it's actually impressive when it comes to fight scenes and action sequences. I think it's very clean, and I think it can portray a cleaner look when it comes to anime. But overall, I can see how people would think this is kind of a cheap looking anime, but overall it's really not. The story's there, the characters are there. It's directed by the same person who did Standalone Complex in the early 2000s, Kenji Kamiyama. And I really think that their art direction, it was just a choice. So it's either you're going to be not bothered by it, or you're going to be really bothered by it. But overall, I think everybody should give it a shot. Watch it all the way through. The story's definitely worth it. That goes into number two, which is story. Now, the story takes place obviously in the future, and there are these things called post-humans that I've mentioned before. Now, these post-humans were human at some point. There's something that happened to them, like an infection of some sorts. They get a fever, they go into a comatose state, and then they become something more. So there seems to be some sort of government struggle between the United States, Japan, who owes who a favor here, and they just both don't know, supposedly, on where these post-humans actually came from. So that's where the mystery comes from, is that there are three major post-humans that are centralized in Japan, and it takes place in Japan and taking out these three types of post-humans. So tracking down these post-humans. Each one of the post-humans has their own story. Some of them are older, some of them had their careers made, some of them are younger and in school, so it kind of just varies and doesn't seem like there's a really big common denominator between all three of them. So I think that mystery behind everything, the sci-fi type of aspect to this, the enemies are really, really cool. They all have their own powerful abilities, so I just think that the story overall is very satisfying, and I just think that the character building with the story just makes it even better. So that goes into section 3, which is going to be characters. Now, characters in this series, there's going to be a ton of lovable ones, a ton of them that you have a ton of questions about because they don't really delve too far into past experiences with these people. But if you're jumping into this new, there's a character called Bato, and he's the badass mercenary of the group. He's the big guy. There is Togasa, which is kind of like the investigator person that was part of Ghost in the past and now has rejoined the group. So there's a bunch of characters to like in this anime, and I really appreciate all of the character building that they have in this. They even have one episode that's just dedicated to one of these characters. It kind of seemed a little off-putting because there's a little bit of a time jump somewhere like halfway through the series. So I don't know if that was kind of like a directing issue or if they just didn't know what to do with the time that was passing. But it was just nice to see that there was an episode just about one of the characters and not really about the overall story arc. So I thought that was very nice, but it just needed to have a little bit more if you're going to do those side characters or those side little story arcs. So overall, the animation, if you can get over the animation, I think that you guys should stick with it and watch the whole thing. I think the story will definitely still intrigue you, and I think it's mature enough to stand on its own. The story is fantastic. I want to know more about what happens to these characters, so I'm really looking forward to season 2. The characters all have their own personality. They're very well voice acted. I just think that overall, between the story and the characters, even if you do not like the animation, I still think it's worth watching. So my overall verdict of this series is an 8.3 out of 10. I really enjoyed this series more than I thought that I was going to because of the animation, and I thought it was so jarring. I didn't know if I was going to finish it, but I'm glad that I did. So that is it for me, guys. If you liked the video, please comment, like, subscribe below, and I will catch you next time.